Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make miniature pinatas. For the first part of this video, you're going to need a ruler, a stencil, 2 pieces of poster board, a pencil, and some scissors. You do not need a stencil if you feel confident in your drawing skills. I do not, however, so I am using a stencil. For the stencil, I just went on to Word documents and applied a star shape and printed it out. And now I'm just going to cut out that star shape. Now I am labeling my star so I don't get the orientation of the star confused. After I label my star, I am going to trace my star shape onto my poster board. I'm going to just trace this twice because these will act as my surface areas for my 3D form that I will get. So just keep in mind that if you do print off your own star shape, like I did, the direction that it will lay will have to be the same. So make sure that you label the sides, the top, the bottom, however you want to, so you don't get them confused and then your star doesn't turn off wonky. Now I'm just going to cut out the one of my star shapes. Once I've cut out my star, I'm going to go back to my poster board and I'm going to begin measuring each side of my second star. I'm doing this because, first of all, my star shape is not a perfect star. As I was stretching it to fit on Word document, it got out of proportion. So if you look at the star straight on the way I printed it, it looks okay, but then you turn it to the side and it's a little bit taller. You turn it the other way, the sides are just not proportionate. So in order to help myself remember what sides are which, I'm going to measure the second star's sides and record them down accordingly to the side. And what this will do for me is when I'm building my perimeter, which you will see very shortly, I will know where each side goes, where each piece fits perfectly on my star. Once I've completed my measurements, I'm going to go ahead and just take this picture and sum it up for myself on another piece of scrap poster board. So I have 4 sides that are all 1 inch and 5/8. I have 4 sides that are 1 inch and 6/8, and I have 2 sides that are 1 inch and 7/8. And so I just wrote it all down so I could easily keep track of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin to draw out these different measurements, starting with the 1 and 5/8 inch. So what I'm doing is I'm marking with my ruler 1 and 5/8 inch, and I need 4 of these pieces, so I'm going to measure this out 4 times. And then I decided that I wanted my star to be 1 inch thick. So the length of these pieces are 1 and 5/8, and then I'm going to measure inside 1 inch. So that way it'll be a perfect inch by 1 and 5/8. I repeat this process with all of my measurements, giving myself 4 total pieces that are 1 and 5/8 inch by 1 inch, 4 pieces that are 1 inch by 1 and 6/8 inch, and then 2 pieces that are 1 inch by 1 and 7/8 inch. So this is just me measuring. You can go ahead and pause your video, measure out your pieces. I'm going to cut to where I'm actually building. Now that I have all of my pieces measured out and cut out, I'm going to begin building my star. So according to my diagram that I have drawn out for myself, I take the pieces accordingly and tape them to the surface area of my star. Once I have these two pieces down to the surface area of my star, I'm going to tape the tip of them together, so that way I get the first tip of my star built. And then I'm going to continue on according to my diagram and repeat this process. Just tape them flat down together and then push them upwards and tape the tips. So here is my completed star frame. If you need to pause the video and build your star, you may do that right now. After I've completed the frame, I don't need this diagram anymore, so I'm going to cut out my second star surface area. This will act as the top of my form, so I can complete my whole 3D form. Again, pause the video if you need to get to this spot too. Now that my star is cut out, I'm going to place it on the top of my form, making sure that all sides match up, and then I'm going to tape it down over the edge of my cookie cutter frame, so that way I will get a complete star 3D form. Once the form has been made completely, we're going to start the paper mache process. For this part, you're going to need a container with a lid to store the glue and water mixture, glue, water, and newspaper. Once your area is tidy and you have something to put your piece on top of so you don't get your table or desk or whatever area you're working on wet and messy, we're going to start doing the paper mache. You're going to take the newspaper and rip off short strips or long strips, however you see fit. Dip it in the glue and water mixture. Use your fingers as a squeegee to squeegee off excess mixture, and then place it accordingly to your 3D model. Again, rip off a piece of the newspaper, dip it in the mixture, get excess mixture off of the strip with your fingers, and then put the strip on your piece wherever you feel it needs it. You're going to want this whole piece to be covered with the newspaper. And then after you finish, you're going to want your newspaper to dry. So pause the video, paper mache your piece, and allow it to dry. Once your piece has dried, we will begin the second process. Here is my completed piece full of newspaper, and it is dry, ready for the second step, which is to take a solid color tissue paper. In this case, I used black, and we're just going to cover up the newspaper so that way when we put the actual colored tissue paper on, the newspaper can't be seen through the piece. So we're going to do the same exact process as we did with the newspaper, this time with tissue paper. In this case, the tissue paper is going to be a little bit more flimsy, so I only allowed one side of the tissue paper to get wet, which means I did not use my fingers as a squeegee because the mixture was not all over the tissue paper. It was only on one side. So here we go. We're going to rip off a piece of the black tissue paper. Again, about an inch wide strip, and it can be however long you see fit. We're going to dip it into the mixture, only getting it wet on one side. Here I got it wet on both sides, and then it started sticking on itself, and it was just a horrible thought. So learn from my mistakes. Only get one side of the tissue paper wet, and then allow it to go onto your 3D model wherever you want to put it. Once you have covered up all of the newspaper, you're going to want it to dry. Again, I know this is a very time-consuming process, but in order to have the best possible project come out, we need to allow the materials to dry. So here is my finished product. I'm going to let it dry now, so pause the video, and I'll see you guys in a few. Once my star has dried, I'm going to move on to the decorating process. For this, I'm going to need different colored tissue paper, a paintbrush, my scissors, and my glue and water mixture again. Now this part is going to be a little tedious, so just bear with me and you guys can see how I get it done. Before I begin decorating, I poked this toothpick through my star just so that way I had a place to hang, to pass the string through and hang it when I'm finished. This was a little hard to do, so if you need help, please get somebody older, an adult or something, to help you. For decorating your star, you're going to take your tissue paper in about an inch wide section and about 4 or 5 inches long. I'm going to begin rolling the tissue paper on the end of my paintbrush. And I'm doing it this way because I want my roll to be really, really tight. And when I'm done rolling the tissue paper up into this roll, I took it off the paintbrush, and then I'm going to cut down on both sides like so. And then when I unroll it, I have a fringy looking piece of tissue paper. From here, I'm going to fold down about 1/4 of an inch. And what this is going to do is this is going to where I'm going to put my glue, so that way I have a nice shelf to put my glue down, to put my fringe down. So here I am. I've already placed the red down. I'm going to place the orange down now. So I'm going to take my paintbrush. I'm going to dip it in my glue mixture. I'm going to apply it to the very top of where my red piece was. And then I'm going to begin gluing down right there, that shelf that I've created. And I'm going to do this all the way around my form on that star edge. And what this is doing is it's creating a layer of fringy tissue paper. And the decoration after it's done is going to be really, really cute. So going around the whole tip of that star, putting the water and glue mixture down first, and then sticking the very edge of that tissue paper down on there, so that way my fringe hangs off of the star and it's only stuck by where I made that shelf with the tissue paper. Next, I'm taking my yellow color. I'm going to do the exact same process again, cutting off a strip that is 1 inch wide by about 5 inches long, rolling it on my paintbrush end, compacting it, cutting the sides across from each other, unrolling it to see my fringe, folding the top down, and then gluing it right above where I placed my previous fringe. One last time, I'm going to repeat this process with the green color. Cut off my strip, roll it on my paintbrush, and then I'm going to take it off the paintbrush. I'm going to cut on one side across from each other to create fringe. I'm going to fold the tissue paper over on itself and glue it down right above where I placed my previous piece of fringe. Now, after I complete this tip, I'm going to stop recording and I'm going to finish all of my tips. So pause the video and finish decorating all of your star tips too. Once I've finished my tips, I'm going to start working on the body part of my star. And I'm doing the exact same process with my fringe, except for I'm making the length a little bit longer just because I need this to go around my entire star surface area. And I'm gluing it down right above where my last one went. And then I'm folding it over on itself to change its direction and gluing it down on the next side. So watch, I create a little fold to change its direction and it glues down right there. Again, placing glue down, folding the tissue paper on itself to change its direction, and then gluing down this side. I did not have enough tissue paper, so I'm just going to get a little bit more and do this process again to finish that one side. Don't forget that what you do to the front, you must also do to the back. So after I finish this blue section here on the front, I'm going to flip it over and do the blue section on the back. Just again, watch the process. It is a little tricky, but I'm sure you guys y'all can get it. Just take your tissue paper length, roll it around your paintbrush and cut the sides to give yourself some fringe, unroll it, and then glue it down to your piece. Once my blue is complete, I'm going to go in with a purple layer now. Again, the same process, just filling in the rest of this area. while I was spinning to get my purple put down, the bottom part of my blue decided to come off. So I'm just going to touch it up. Like I said before, I'm not a perfect artist. And when things happen and we make mistakes, we learn from them, right? So learn from my mistakes when you're rotating your star around to get proper access to the sides. Lift it up a little bit. So, and if you run into a mistake like this, don't lose hope and don't lose sight of the end process, because it's going to turn out wonderful anyway. And little mistakes just make it more personalized. It makes it more from you. So don't feel bad when you make mistakes in your artwork. Just consider them, like Bob Ross said, happy little accidents, and keep going forward. For the final piece of my star, I'm going to go back in with the red, and this time, instead of doing the same thing I was doing beforehand, I'm just going to create a center, just the fringe is going to be more in the center and not on the in the perimeter. What I mean by this is that as I unroll it, I'm just going to kind of bunch it up in the middle. So it's not going to be laid down like it was previously, right? So I'm laying down this first layer, but as I get closer to the middle, it's all going to stand up and be kind of like, I don't have any other explanation, but proud fringe. So I'm just taking my paintbrush again and I'm re-rolling this last bit of fringe, and then I'm placing it right in the center with some glue so that way it can stand up. I think that makes it look super, super cute. Although unfortunately, as soon as I laid it down like this, it started to get smushed. So here I am doing the same process again to this side, rolling my fringe, or creating my fringe. I'm going to lay it down flat at first and then have the middle part of my fringe stand up in the center of this star. I thought this would be a cute way to cap off the edges, and it really was. It was a nice kind of end to this project, this decoration part anyway. So again, I just continued my process, but I cut it off short and took the rest of my fringe, re-rolled it to be to stand up on its edge, and then glued it down to the middle. This one didn't turn out too well, but it's okay. I loved it anyway. Now, in order to string it so it hangs up, I'm taking a piece of string and I'm going to put a little bit of tape on the edge of the string to act as a guide for my string. And what I'm going to do eventually is I'm going to stick the toothpick that is in that hole, that is saving the hole that I made. I'm going to stick it in through the string into the tape that I put on the tip, and then I'm going to push the toothpick through the hole, and what it will do is it will take the string in with it. And there we have it. There is our little pinata. I hope you guys enjoyed this project.